Can you tell me who you are first?
Yes, I'm Mark Eberle speaking from the Patriot Conservative Tea Party. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Peter Langdon Ward.
Mm-hmm.
I was 27 years with the United States Geological Survey.
Oh, wow.
I was a geophysicist who studied earthquakes, volcanoes, and plate tectonics, how the Earth works.
Mm-hmm.
I retired a number of years ago, and in 2006, I discovered on the internet data from ice cores in Greenland. And this data showed very clearly that at the time we warmed out of the last ice age, about 12,000 years ago, that was when the greatest volcanism that's been observed anywhere in Greenland ice was recorded. So there was sulfate recorded, or the tell was the snow, which comes from volcanoes. And looking in the ice cores, we could get an index of the level of volcanic activity. And the level of activity 12,000 years ago, precisely at the time we warmed out the last ice age, was very, very high. Well, I spent a lifetime on volcanoes. I climbed my first active volcano when I was 19. And I know, and all climate scientists know, that big explosive volcanic eruptions cause cooling. And I said, wait a minute, how could volcanic eruptions cause both cooling and warming?
Right.
And the more I looked at it, the more I realized the data were really good. There was something here that I really need to understand. And I realized at the time, understanding that could be very important. So I decided to put aside almost everything else in my life and concentrate trying to figure out that enigma. And it's turned out to be extremely interesting and very important.
And can you tell us more?
Okay, so what we do know is the big explosive volcanic eruptions explode a lot of gases up into the lower stratosphere, where sulfur dioxide and water combine to form sulfuric acid in the form of a mist, an aerosol. And over time, the particle sizes in this mist grow large enough to reflect sunshine or to scatter sunlight, so that there's a net cooling. So what we see following big explosive eruptions is for about 2 to 3 years, there's a net cooling of about a half a degree centigrade, nearly a degree Fahrenheit. And that's the result of these aerosols. But what I then discovered as I looked into it since we started recording back in 1927 was in 1992 and 1993 following the Philippines. It was the largest volcanic eruption since 1912.
Right.
So I began to realize that volcanic eruptions cause depletion of the ozone layer. Well, man caused depletion of the ozone layer also in the 1970s and 80s. And the problem turned out to be that we were producing chlorofluorocarbon gases, that these gases, when they get into the upper atmosphere, get broken down and release atoms of chlorine, and that one atom of chlorine can destroy 100,000 molecules of ozone. So this is what caused the Antarctic ozone hole that I'm sure you've heard about.
Right, I have.
It was the CFC gases. And we can say that for sure now because once we discovered the Antarctic ozone hole in 1985, we scientists and politicians got together and very quickly passed the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in 1987. And this protocol required the cutback in production of the CFC gases. Well, sure enough, in 1993, the increase in CFC gases in the atmosphere stopped. In 1995, the increase of ozone concentration in the atmosphere, the ozone depletion stopped.
Mm-hmm.
In 1998, the increase in temperature stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had no change in temperature until 2014. So what we discovered then is that chlorine atoms and bromine atoms, if they can be delivered to the lower stratosphere, destroy ozone and deplete the ozone layer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that important? Well, the ozone layer protects life on Earth from being destroyed by ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet C and ultraviolet B radiation burn your skin, cause mutations, cause skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Too much of this radiation is dangerous, and if the ozone layer is significantly depleted, life as we know it on Earth can be wiped out. What it does is when you deplete the ozone layer, this ultraviolet energy no longer gets absorbed in the ozone layer, but it reaches Earth.
Right.
And it's a very hot energy that can burn your skin. Mm-hmm. So it has a much bigger effect on warming Earth than anything else we know.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a long story short, what I discovered was that volcanic eruptions deplete the ozone layer. That explosive volcanic eruptions also form aerosols that end up cooling Earth, reflecting sunlight.